Knowing what must be done does away with fear. Rosa Parks. You're listening to the Real Estate Investor Show, episode number 4.
Welcome, ladies, to the Real Estate Investor Show, providing inspiration, strategies, and insight to empower women investors to live balanced and financially free lives. Now, here are your co-hosts, Liz and Andressa.
We are thrilled to have Tahani Aburaneh on today's show. Tahani is one of Canada's top experts in real estate investing. She's a best-selling author, speaker, and developer. She owns a large rental portfolio and has flipped over 100 homes. She's the founder of 5 companies with 6, 7, and 8 figures. She built her business all while working hard as a single mom raising 2 kids. In today's episode, we discuss the specific mindset a woman needs to have in order to achieve success in this business. Tahani also shares her 8 steps to move from having no money to becoming a self-millionaire.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Real Estate Investor Show. This is Liz, and I'm here with Andressa, my co-host.
Hello, everybody.
And happy March. We just kicked off March here, and it is Women's History Month, which is always exciting. And it got me thinking, though, Andressa, about Women's History Month. You know, what do I do to even celebrate Women's History Month, right? I mean,
right.
It's a wonderful idea, and there's a lot of events around, but I don't know. I don't really participate in a lot of that. It got me thinking that I should, you know. How do you celebrate that?
Well, I'll share 2 pieces. I think that what we're doing now is a celebration. We start a conversation with other women about how we're doing and how can we support each other. I think that that's the most important thing we can do to each other.
It's true.
I come from Brazil, so you know that. Everybody heard this before. It's very interesting how we celebrate there. So on March 8th, usually it works like Valentine's Day here. So the men take the women or their partners to dinner. You go to the bank, you get roses. You go to the bakery, you have like a table with sweets and other things for you. On the street, you get stopped every single time and they say, "Congratulations for your day. I hope you're doing well." Yeah. So that's how it's there.
That here.
Right? But I think that overall, the bigger picture are the conferences, the march, and the subjects that we want to talk about to move forward.
That's true. That's true. And there's a lot.
There's a lot, right?
Yeah, there's a lot. But
I think we're moving forward. We're moving forward. I'm proud of as we stand and move forward with our rights and support each other.
That's absolutely true. And what better way to kind of kick that off with our guest today? We have Tahani she has multiple companies, Self-Made Millionaire. She's a phenomenal woman. And she is based in Canada and is an investor up there. And she's going to get into a lot of her story in a moment. But it's just a fantastic way to kind of kick off Women's History Month with such an amazing woman here who really created abundance for herself out of nothing. So with that, welcome to the show.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with both of you and all the listeners.
Yeah. And, we kind of start things off, to just ask you, what compelled you to begin real estate investing? What compelled you? And, you have just a fascinating story. And what was the path that got you to begin investing?
So I would like to, maybe before I get into how I got into real estate investment, maybe to give our listeners a little bit of a background of where
Absolutely.
I'm from and how I got to Canada, actually.
That'd be great.
From Jordan. I was born in a refugee camp in Jordan. And at age 15, my whole life took a different direction. It's because of a choice that my parents made for me and not because of my own actually doing. So one day I was coming home from just a normal school day. I was in grade 8, almost grade 9, to find out that they just agreed to marry me or arrange, my marriage to a man that I've never met or seen before.
Wow.
And that took a whole new direction. Yeah. I know at age 15, can you imagine going to a totally different foreign country? It's like the unknown. There was no Google, there was no Facebook, there was none of those things. And I did not speak a word of English. And Andres, you probably can relate a little bit to that coming from Brazil, how, hard it is. And so that whole, incident or that whole event got me thinking, how can I embrace the unknown when we don't know something? How can you embrace the unknown and work with that?
Wow.
Yeah. So after being here for a few years and being married for 22 years, I wasn't really too happy in my marriage. Of course, I did it because that's what we do, is that, we don't really even think about divorce or just try and make things work out between a husband and wife. But when I realized it's not working also for my kids, and I did not want my kids to go through that kind of marriage, or that kind of, I don't want to be that kind of an example for my daughter. That's when I got the courage on the inside to say, you know what, enough is enough, and I got to leave that marriage. And that was another big eventful, event in my life. But to answer a question, if I got into real estate, is just before I actually even left my marriage, I started as a realtor. And as a realtor, my business would go up and down, up. We call it cyclical, like a cycle, and I was never really happy. I did it, but I wasn't. But when I, when I put my heart into it and I say, okay, now I got to do this, I would do very, very well. But then I would get to the top and that would scare the heck out of me. Now I'm making money. Maybe it means that I have to leave my marriage, whatever. And then I would sabotage myself and go down again. And then when my business is dead, I would say, oh my gosh, what the heck am I doing? And then go up, and it's just a cycle. But and then after that, one time I was selling my brother's house, which was actually a semi. I got a realtor that bring me an offer, and in the offer there's all these different clauses, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. How was that? And then I started talking to the realtor, and she's like, oh gosh, I hate working with this guy. He's a real estate investor. He just bothers me. He's this, he's that. And I'm like, oh, real estate investor. Maybe this is interesting. I really want to work with more of these people. And that's what actually seeded, me working with real estate. And then after my divorce, I started asking for work, and I became very focused, and that set the whole, path into working with real estate investors and becoming a real estate investor myself.
Okay. How about that first project for yourself? What was that first, investment that you did?
Actually, my first investment was my own home. I did not even think of it as an investment at that time, but I just bought a home when I got divorced. And 4.5 years later, I paid off the whole mortgage and had many other homes that I bought through a builder. So it was really wonderful for me, because at the time I was selling for some builders, and I would say to the builders, like, look, instead of me getting my commission back, why don't you, just use that as a down payment, and I would buy a second house and a third house. And that's what happened. At the time I was able to do that, and I built incredible equity with doing that method for me. And that's, again, what got me to buying and purchasing more and more properties. And at the time, Elizabeth, it was the market was so hot that if you would have bought a house, say, today, 6 months down the road, that same house would have been 50,000, 60,000 more. It was perfect timing, aligned timing, the perfect, aligned stars, whatever you call it, You did not have to be very, very smart at the time, but the fact that I actually was able to think of these ideas of going to the builders and doing this and moving my money is really what got me a very good start.
Great. How old were your kids at that time?
11 and 13.
So you have a brand new business side that you're investing on. You have an 11-year-old, a 13-year-old at home and trying to manage everything. this is a very common scenario for other women that are listening to us that are struggling to balance that area. What would you tell them now that helped you out to get to the point that you are right now?
I feel if you really need it bad enough, you will do whatever it takes. That's how I look at it. There's a lot of people that say they want to be millionaires. A lot of people, they say they want to be investors. But when bad things happen, they easily check out. And this is the difference between someone getting to success and someone not. Is, you know what, you're starting this podcast, it takes a lot of commitment, and sometimes you might not be able to follow through, or sometimes you might get sick, and sometimes this and sometimes that, but it's life happens to all of us every single day. What I want these ladies to know is that when that happens, it's okay. If you want to cry, if you want to talk to someone, but then shake it off and say, on I move again. That's the most important. It's not how many times you get down, it's how many times you get up and move forward.
Absolutely.
So you're saying too about how when you started, you put some pieces together where you were, that's actually a really interesting strategy, where you took that money and instead of paying yourself, you put it back into, buying down equity and starting your investing business. How are you able to, specifically, that was one way to get the equity. How did you then buy more properties? Was that one strategy? Did you partner with people? Did you just begin to take your earned income that you were making as a realtor and put that into investments? And you were a single mom, right? So that just also gets me thinking, how did you manage all that and be able to buy more property and do that? So just curious about that.
Me, my strategy was, because it was perfect timing then, is that as soon as I got equity in the property, I was not able, because of my income, I wasn't making tons of income. I was not able to keep all of those properties. So what I've done is that I started selling them, and I started actually adding all of my equities together. So, if I've made $50,000 from one house, from a second house, whatever, I sold those, and then I've got a really good chunk of equity that I was able to pay my house, which was actually, like they say, the American dream is to pay off your mortgage. And then, had a little more left that I actually started, putting. At the time, you could not buy a property with just only 5% down. It was like 35% down. Wow. So it went from 35 to 30 to 25 to even to the point where actually you bought properties with no money down, right? So things change. The mortgage rules change. And you have to be flexible in this business, and you have to be adaptable in this business. And then you have to look at the time that you're starting out and saying, okay, what is the best strategy for me at this point? And instead of just only looking at what Tahani did then or what somebody else did at that time. Okay, here I am right now. What can I do right now with what I've got right now? But the most important thing is, if you don't have money and you have to partner with someone else, then do that. Maybe that is the way that you should maybe do it to get started, right? I did not have to do that because, again, I was in a time where I was able to build that equity on my own.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
So thinking about down the road, now you own a rental portfolio and also develop properties. What part of real estate do you get more joy out of it?
Oh, I get joy. I'd say to people sometimes, if you cut my skin here in my arm, you'll see houses come out. That's how much I get joy by seeing people light up, when they realize that they've built up in so much equity in their homes. I get joy when I see a piece of land that is raw and flat, nothing there. And then, after you drive by and then there's kids, playing outside, that, oh my gosh, that's for me. It's amazing. So there's a lot of things that I get to see, but mostly it's the transformation in like the land, the transformation in people and how they see things. And yeah.
Absolutely. So I do most of the construction management for my projects and for other investors as well. So I am at the job site on a daily basis. And I come across a lot of ladies that come to me and say, this is why I'm not starting in real estate. I know nothing about construction. By the way, I have an accent. I come from somewhere else. And I think you and I can relate about the accent part that did not stop us to move forward. But what would you say also to those ladies that don't get started because they feel that they don't have construction background?
Well, first of all, I love real estate. I always say that in my talks when I'm on stage and talking to, investors, is that it never, real estate like never judges you, whether you're white, black, speak English, do not speak English. Like there is none of those things, that actually matter when you're dealing with this industry. What matters is that you're really getting amazing properties that can support you and your family. To the second point that you just said, which is the, they don't know enough construction or they don't know enough about real estate. Well, I started not knowing much. And, how do you get started? Is by learning. This is one way for them to learn, is being on this podcast and listening to other people's stories and start maybe going, to maybe meetup groups or maybe even, reading books. Like there is very, very inexpensive way. I don't think it's information, because if people want information is all over the internet. This is
what do you think is the issue, Sal?
I think they need hustle. They need to really get out there and do it. It's like my motto is like, stop thinking about it and start doing something about it. That's what is the differentiates between like you guys, how many people have thought about podcasts? But you guys went ahead and you did it. You don't even know what's going to happen later. It's the unknown that we talked about. But right now you've got your heart and soul and you're giving it your all. So that's what I want the ladies on this podcast to know, is like, what? If you want to learn, go to the library and borrow a book. Don't even buy it. If you don't have money to buy it, don't buy it. Just go borrow one or sit on the internet and put some time. So if people don't have money, they have time. So if you don't have money right now, you've got lots of time to sit and do research and learn and learn and learn. So it's one or the other. And if you think, I don't even have time, then maybe you're not serious enough. If you think, I'm already, I've got lots on the go, then you know what? Again, you're not serious enough. You don't want it bad enough. That's what I should say.
Yeah. I mean, I want to circle back too with how much passion you just shared about what you were doing and just the passion you had for real estate and the joy. You were able to name, 4 or 5 things that bring you joy when it comes to real estate investing. If you sat there and was like, let me think about that for a moment, then it would have been pretty obvious that, you have to search for something. And I think that why I'm bringing that up is that so many people, whether they're starting in real estate investing or women that are looking to grow their portfolio, they don't often connect with their why. They're kind of underlining, why am I doing this? And if it's just to make passive income, which most people think that's the only goal, that's not good enough. There's a lot of ways to make money in this world. Real estate is a tough one. And at times it could be an easy one at times. There's things that go well. There's things that don't go well. We all can share our war stories here. We're not going to do that, but we could. And you know what? It keeps coming back. You keep going back to it because something in it brings you joy beyond the money, beyond the, all the other things. But, something in it has to bring you joy. And I think that's so important that you said that,
Of course. Thank you for saying that, Elizabeth. But I also think it's about peeling the onions. It's never about the money. It's peeling the onions. Why do I want to make money? If you ask people, I want more cash flow. Why you want more cash flow, ladies? Why? Because I want to maybe have enough money to go with my kids and take them to Florida, or to Disney World. Okay, then you know what? Once you do, what is that going to make you feel once you take your kids to Florida? So really keep peeling the onion so that you know exactly what is it that you on the inside that you really want. And I know for me, it was to provide my kids with a life that it can give them the freedom to do whatever they want, that they don't have to see their mama in a relationship that they maybe are going to model, which it was not a healthy relationship. So there's a lot. I always share the fact that my kids were the best gift ever to me, because if it wasn't for them, I would not be where I am right now. A lot of women, and you mentioned something that have kids. A lot of maybe our listeners have kids and they're a stay-at-home mom. They sometimes see their kids as like, oh my gosh, they're almost like holding them back from being the best investor or the best in their business or anything. They're not holding you back. How about if you just switch that thought and see it as I saw it, which is because of my kids, I actually realized how friggin' powerful I was in business. Because of my kids, I get to do what I'm doing right now. So if you just only look at the glass half full rather than half empty, then you will see all of these are excuses. Some women, they say to me, I want to start in real estate, Tahani, but my husband is not into it. And I don't know what actually I should do. Well, you know what? It's again, that's another excuse. Or maybe my kids, or maybe I don't have money. It's, if you really want it bad enough, again, you'll find a way to really do it. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I saw on your website, it's a very intriguing sentence. You say, the reason why you're not wealthy is because you are chasing money. And I feel the pain that a lot of women feel out there that, well, I need to work because I need to feed my kids. But what you are pushing here is the boundary to go a little bit deeper, to see where is the fire in them and what do they need to do. If they need to wake up earlier, if they need to go to bed or later, what they can do in order for them to figure out what that fire is that will move them beyond their excuses. Some of them don't see it as excuses, see it as reasons. But once you make that shift, then things have a different perspective. Would you agree with that?
100%. I would love to share with all of the listeners my 8 steps of how I got from no money to, where I'm at right now. That would be awesome. But
that'd be great.
Absolutely right. It's when you say to yourself that the ship is sailed, there's no way coming back, that's when you know that you will see success. And that's when you become focused. And there's got to be fire on the inside. Otherwise, it's easy for them to drop it off like that. Even with the first maybe time, a tenant does not pay rent, or they have a tenant from hell, that's what we call them. Then all of a sudden, oh, this is too hard. I don't know if I can do this. Maybe I'm not cut out to do this. And that is just, again, another excuse. And instead of saying, oh, I've got a tenant from hell, what can I do? Who can I go to that can help me maybe find a solution to this problem, or maybe do it better the next time so that I don't come across this again?
Yeah, and I'd love for you to share your 8 steps with the listeners. I just want to add too, people often think that the mistakes and the challenges happen early on in a business. And then once you got some rental properties, you're smooth sailing and you can just, sit back and do nothing. And that's not the case either. You're constantly facing this business with new learnings, if you will. So yeah, it doesn't let up. It's just, you got to get quicker at solving the problem. And if you don't, you're going to get eaten alive. Yeah. So I love that point.
No matter how much studying one can do, real life is different.
Yeah.
When you get out in the trenches, it's different. And you're going to come across things that are going to be, oh, that was never in the book.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Tahani, I know that we don't have the time for you to go over in details the 8 steps, but would you summarize what would they be?
Yes, of course. First of all, we're going to talk about clarity and getting to your why. And somebody says, this is so cliche. Like everybody says, what is your why? What is your why? I can say it in a different way. And that is what your heart desires. If right now you want to do something, what does your heart desires? Like as a mother, would you want maybe solid education to know that your kids are going to go to school and you don't have to worry about? Or maybe would you desire maybe you want to take a trip between, for you and your kids? What are your heart desires, and then just get to that. And also with that, I would say commit to it. So for example, if you know that you have to provide for your kids, then commit to it. Don't let any little thing, as we talked about a little earlier, stop you from going forward with that. So that's the number one thing, is clarity and commitment. Second thing, it would be appreciation. You really, really have to come up from a place of plenty and thankful, of where you're at right now before you actually move forward. Because it's so easy right now to always, see other people having more than you do. And then you keep saying, oh my gosh, I don't have that house, or I don't have that much money, or I don't have, no, but you know what? You have so much more. First of all, you're in friggin' North America. That alone is a blessing. That alone is a friggin' blessing. So you thank goodness that you've got freedom. You can actually, make a difference if you want in your financial life. So if you want to create more finances, yes, as a businesswoman, you've got all the things that you need, the tools that you want in this, country. So coming from a place of gratitude and a place of, appreciation. So the third thing is, it's delay gratification. Have discipline. A lot of the women, they say, I want to create financial freedom, yet they maybe go out and spend on clothes. They spend on things that actually they think they might need, but they actually don't even need. When I got, when I was really, really focused on making it better for my two kids, even as small as buying a cup of coffee for $2, I stopped doing that because I knew I had to do something different in order for me to see a different result. And some people, they say, oh, come on, Tahani, it's only friggin' $2, But yes, it's $2. But then $2 from here, and then a little bit more from there, and then a little bit more from another place. Then all of a sudden, it makes a huge difference. So try and find out where you can actually have some discipline within your finances so that you can get further ahead. And I want you also to think of it more of like a temporary thing. A lot of people, they think, oh, but I'm not gonna not give myself all these little things that I actually find joy in. You're not giving them up for life. You're only giving them up for maybe a year or maybe for a few months. I really don't know, until you get yourself going. And also the fourth step would be, I would call it like, reprogramming your beliefs. And that is, instead of thinking of what you do, like even as a real estate investor, as, oh my gosh, I'm really buying houses. How about you think of it as a value creator? You're a value creator. Like, oh my gosh, I actually give shelter for those that are not able to have shelter. Like those tenants that cannot actually buy a house. I'm being able to create value for those people and give them shelter. Like, just think of all the little things that you can provide. Even if you have your own business, or even if you work at, you call it Starbucks or wherever it is, think of everything that you do as a value creator. So the woman has to think of herself as a creator. We already create babies. We already, do all the things. So what value can you create to this world? I don't know if I'm going on and on.
No, this is great. No, finish it. I'm taking notes too for myself, Thinking
of creating, so which would be the fifth step, think of maybe different ways of creating income. So don't quit your job, because there are some people that think of real estate as like, oh my gosh, I want to become a millionaire in 1 year. Well, don't become a millionaire. First of all, it's going to take a whole lot more than 1 year, but don't quit your job until you create enough income that can replace that job. So that's a very, very important thing. So then you've got your job, and then maybe you're doing another thing or two things, so that you can get going, a little bit of hustle at the beginning. So creativity and ideas that you could think of every day. Where are we here? Oh, sorry, this is number 5 right now. Think like the wealthy do. Think like the wealthy do. And that is, think of time versus money. And we already talked about that. If you don't have money, you have time. What is it that you can provide someone else, maybe like me, that don't have a lot of time, that maybe can create income for you. So always think, how can you add value to another woman, to another man, to another person, and you get paid for it because you already have time for that. So the wealthy never think about the money. They always think about time. So that's a very, very important point to hit home here, right? Another thing too is the wealthy don't think constantly and always about cutting their expenses or their savings, even though we just talked about the $2, but that's only temporary and that's only at the beginning. While you're doing that, I would like you to think also of ways that you can create income, because that's how you're going to get ahead. So one thing is, yes, you're saving money, but another way is that money that you're saving, where can you put it right now, that can get you further ahead? And to me, and maybe to Elizabeth and everyone here, is there is no other way better than the real estate. It might take you a little bit longer to save up a little bit of money, but at least you can do it in a way that you're gonna get at least one property that will get you somewhere further ahead. That's another thing too, ladies, and that probably we haven't talked about, is that when women think about real estate investing, they might be thinking, oh, maybe 2, 3, 10, 100. But, if you think about the average person out there, even if you got one property, hooray for you and good for you. That's one property that you never thought of getting before, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. The quality versus the quantity. So did we cover all 8? Did we get to all 8?
Okay. We've got 2 more, and the one is invest in yourself. It's so important. We're talking about real estate investment, but the best investment is yourself. So if you invest, even like I said, a little money into your education, or into maybe getting a mentor, or maybe into whatever it is, then that is going to take you way further into the future. I pay mentors in my life right now. I have many mentors in different areas, and I know the power of having a mentor. So investing in yourself is the best investment that can take you further. Right now, if I get stripped away from everything I've got, I know I still have my, in the information in my head, I still know what to do. So this is the best investment. And the last step would be, and it's the most important step, and that is to act in spite of fear. We're
Absolutely
all scared to make mistakes, and we're all scared of the unknown, and we're all scared of many things to get started. But you know what? No matter what, despite of that, act. And it's maybe I can suggest visualization. Just see yourself at the end of the tunnel, or maybe see yourself when you are in Florida at Disney World with your kids, or maybe see yourself, greeting your first tenants, and then that will give you motivation and fire, like you said, within you, that maybe can get you a bit further.
Those are great. Those are great. I mean, and it's a lot of, we're talking about on this show is obviously the how-tos, and we got into a few of those today, but more importantly, it's the mindset, right? It's is your mind in a way in position to create success for yourself, and you can do the right things. I mean, and buy property, but if your mind is not in an abundant way, and a lot of the things you shared, you'll just keep, like you said, sabotaging yourself. You'll buy the property, it'll go down, you'll be promoting prophecy. What's that called? Something prophecy. But anyway, you create your own reality. You create your own good or bad things that happen. You create it. So I love those things you shared. So before we get to, these are we call it our fabulous 3 questions. There's 3 questions we ask every guest that comes on the show. You have multiple businesses. You have a huge educational company, which, I think our listeners got a taste of today, and just how much wealth of knowledge you have to share with the world and what you're up to. So where, I know you have a Facebook group called FIRE. I'd love just to give you some chance to share a little bit about what you're up to with that, and anything else you think our listeners would help them.
Yeah, you know what? I started research actually for a book that I was writing, and as I was researching, then I found out that there is more likely for women that are about age 65 or over to end up in poverty or under poverty around that age. And I thought to myself, holy crap, that's a lot of
Yeah.
I actually did not even realize that. And then all of a sudden I thought to myself, okay, now what can I do right now to change that number? What is my duty as a woman who has already seen success, that I actually can take this information that I've got before I die and pass it on to another woman? And that's where FIRE was born. FIRE is like females in real estate. Females in real estate. And that is a Facebook group that's by invite only, but you ladies, can just email me or send me, a message saying that, you heard me here on this podcast, and I will make sure that you're in. And it's really to just encourage you, give you more information, all of that knowledge that you think right now that you're lacking and you wish that you have, to at least get started. So that's what FIRE is all about. I'm so excited for it.
Awesome. That's awesome. So I'm going to start with the first question from our fabulous three. So the first one is, what's the most transformational book you have ever read?
Oh my goodness. I would say all of them, but I honestly can say probably Poor Dad, Rich Dad was one of them at the beginning, early on, because I'm like, oh, okay. You know what? Business. Okay. The quadrants. So I would say that's it.
Great. Awesome. The second is, what's your most powerful daily routine that helps you to balance your life?
Waking up as early as I can, because I feel that the first few hours of the day are my most productive. So I love waking up early. And I feel that if I can have that all, done right in the morning, then the whole day can go any way it wants to go, and I'm all fine. Great.
Which woman, famous or not, has inspired you the most?
Oh, that is so hard. That is so hard to say, because I get inspiration from my sister, from my mother, from all these women, but maybe someone that people know is Oprah. And the reason why I say Oprah is because regardless of her background, regardless of all the challenges that she actually faced, she still found a way to get ahead in life. And that's what I want women on this call to know, is that we all have issues. We all have problems. We all have life to live. But regardless, what are you willing to do to get yourself further ahead?
That's great. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. Tahani, thank you so much for being on our call today and our podcast, and sharing your knowledge with the ladies that are listening and that are on this this journey with all of us. So thank you. You're an example out there, a huge example of someone who's not only built up wealth and built up the wealth to support your family and help other people, which I've seen you have a best-selling book out there, and you give the proceeds to an organization that you care about. But now, as you take this on with FIRE and really helping women in particular in real estate, which is just so awesome and inspiring. So thank you for what you're doing. And thanks for being on our show.
And thank you, ladies, also for having this podcast, because this is just amazing. This is another way for women to learn and have, no more excuses that there is not enough, women podcasts out there or anything like that. So thank you so much for having me as a guest. And if there is any of the ladies that want to learn or know more about, please, join FIRE, Females in
Absolutely. We'll put that in the show notes for everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think that one thing that we have in common with everything that we are offering out there is the support to women out there. So for all of you that are listening to us, if you have a question, if you don't know how to proceed forward, just email us, get in contact with us, and they'll be more than happy to support you.
Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to receive updates on our next interviews, go to our website, therealestateinvestor.com. There, you can subscribe to our show, become part of our investor community, and get updates on upcoming episodes.
If you like our show, please share it with other women who would benefit. And don't forget to leave us a rating on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. And as always, we encourage you to take one action as a result of today's show and put it into motion so you can live both a financially free and balanced life. Thanks for spending time with us.
Ciao.